After recently losing his mother, Arasu spends most of his time playing video games. His brother scolds him for not getting a job and missing the interview he specially arranged for him, and his father doesn't want him to cause his brother any trouble. Meanwhile, Karub is kissing the barmaid at the bar he works in. His boss catches him red-handed and punches him a few times for touching his girl. Since he's getting fired anyway, Karub punches him back before leaving. At the same time, Chota has to deal with his mother, who is always asking him for money. The three friends meet to hang out, but they're feeling down and disappointed in life. They wish they could live in a different world. Determined to have fun, Karub lifts Arasu and takes him to the middle of the street so Chota can record them. Now the cars have to dodge them, and no matter how fast the boys run, they still cause an accident. Noticing the cops coming, the trio runs into the subway station and hides in a bathroom stall. Suddenly the power goes out and the boys come out to find the entire station empty. To their shock, the streets are empty as well. The group splits and searches their homes and workplaces, but their families and friends have disappeared too. They also notice their phones aren't working. When night falls, the trio discusses what to do and is interrupted by a big screen turning on to announce the game is about to start. An arrow sends them to the game arena, and they see some lights in the distance. They follow them to the GM building, where they cross a corridor without noticing the lasers on the walls. A sign tells them to take a phone each, and the devices activate with face recognition. There's no signal and a countdown announces the game will start in 2 minutes. At that moment, Shibuki shows up and throws an object at the lasers, revealing that trying to leave will get them hurt. After a high school girl also joins them, the phones announce it's time for the first game. It's called Dead or Alive and its difficulty is 3 of clubs. They must choose the right door to escape the building in 2 minutes. The elevator takes them to another room where there's a door that says live and another one says die. As they discuss what's the right answer, toxic gas begins filling the room to rush them. The high school girl decides to cross the live door, only to be instantly killed by a laser. The others run through the die door right before the time ends and the previous room is filled with flames. In the next room, the same doors and gas are waiting. Karub opens the live door and nothing happens, so they run through it before fire appears again. Then they notice that in each room the time to choose gets shorter. An argument ensues on how to proceed and Karub punches Arasu, which triggers a memory of their arrival. Arasu realizes all the clues were at the entrance and puts all this data together to draw a diagram of the building. Following this drawing, the group goes through a bunch of rooms, always choosing the right door without any issues. However, at the last door, the doors aren't located where they're supposed to be. Arasu hesitates, but thankfully Chota has been recording everything, so he uses the video to fix his math and choose the right door. Everyone runs through it right before the flames come out, but unfortunately Chota's leg catches on fire. The group puts it out and helps Chota walk to escape the building by finding the fire escape. Once outside, the phones announce they won, but they also notice how badly burnt Chota's leg is. On a table they find the 3 of clubs, which activates a 3-day visa on their phones, although they don't understand what that means. At that moment, a bleeding man appears and says he's quitting the game because there's no end to it no matter how many times you win. Then a laser kills him and all the power goes out. This makes them realize the visa tells them how many days they have to live, and if they want more they need to win more games. A bunch of lasers appear all over the city, killing all the people whose visas expired. On top of a tall building, Usagi watches the lights while thinking about her father and how they used to go climbing together. She promises him she'll survive the game. In the morning, Arasu tries to get a car but none of them will start, and the vegetables he finds are rotten. The group searches a bunch of shops and apartments, however not a single machine is working. Chota wonders if it was an electromagnetic pulse that caused all of this right before the game phones stop working too. Afterward they get batteries for the radio and canned food for lunch while sharing what they were doing when the mysterious blackout happened. Shibuki claims she had been working when actually she was showering after getting dirty with her married boss. She arrived 3 days ago and is the only survivor from her group. Since the boys saw the blackout later and the vegetables are already rotten, they conclude time passes differently here. Chota's injury is getting worse, so Karub and Araizu talk in private and agree to join a game by themselves to learn more without getting their friend in trouble. Meanwhile, Shibuki comforts a crying Chota, who thinks he won't make it out alive. She admits what she was doing with her boss, explaining she hated him but still did it to climb the corporate ladder. Then she kisses Chota and they get naughty, which makes Chota remember the day he saw his mother getting it on with the local priest. Specific apartments all over the city light up with new games. Karub and Arasu join the same game as Usagi and everyone gets a new phone. Once the group has 13 players, the phones announce the game is starting and the difficulty is 5 of spades. Nitobe tells them this will be a physical game and that each card suit has a different meaning. Clubs are team battles, diamonds are wits, and hearts are betrayal. The larger the number the harder the game, but it also equals more visa days. The phones then announce the game will be classic tag. To win, they must find the safe zone in one of the building rooms in 20 minutes. When time's over, a hidden bomb will explode. The group spreads all over the building before a siren confirms the tagger is out. Usagi hides while Karub, Arasu, and Nitobe try the doors, finding them all locked. Suddenly they hear shooting and a body falls in front of them, which means the tagger is killing the players. When they look around the corner, they see a masked person aiming a gun and immediately run away. Karub and Arasu manage to hide behind a wall, but Nitobe keeps on running and quickly gets killed. A player sees this and tries to escape, but he takes the wrong turn and is killed by a laser for leaving the game space. One by one players are getting killed while Karub and Arasu keep on hiding and notice that the tagger can't see them because his vision is limited by the mask. Arasu yells this information and Usagi yells back to share the location of the tagger as she climbs a pipe to dodge a shot. With only 8 minutes left, there still are 7 players. Running around obviously isn't accomplishing anything, so the players gather and make a plan. Half the team will search the remaining floors while the others go after the tagger. A player is shot down and Karub uses the opening to hit him with a fire extinguisher, but the hit does nothing and the tagger kicks him back. Then Aguni tackles the masked man and starts fighting him. Soon Karub joins him, however the tagger is strong enough to overpower them both. When the tagger takes out a blade, he manages to cut Karub's stomach in just a few moves. Meanwhile Arasu and Chishiya realize that the shooting had a specific pattern that takes them to the only unlocked door. The duo enters the empty apartment and a surprise second tagger tries to attack them, but Chishiya quickly knocks her out with a taser. However the woman immediately recovers, so Chishiya runs out of the apartment while Arasu hides in the other room. The safe zone is there and needs 2 people to press 2 buttons to end the game. Arasu yells the answer through the window and Usagi heads there while Aguni keeps on fighting the first tagger, getting a scar on his face in the process. Refusing to lose, Aguni begins punching the man over and over until he's finally unconscious for good. The second tagger shoots the door open and Arasu dodges the shots before jumping to fight the woman, trying to make her drop the gun. Chishiya watches it all but doesn't help. Usagi climbs the walls to change floors and enters the safe zone through the window, then Chishiya throws the taser at her and she uses it to knock out the attacker. Then she and Arasu run to press the buttons with just 1 second left. The phones announce the players won and the collars around the taggers explode, instantly killing them. Karub notices that the tagger's phone says game over, so they were random people forced to play too. Then he hears a noise and finds a radio in the pocket of a dead player. The voice on the radio says the answer is in our hands, return to the beach. Chishiya checks the pockets of the dead tagger and finds a strange drawing. In the morning Karub and Arasu come back and share the message from the radio. They want to go looking for the beach, but since Shibuki's and Chota's visas expire today, first they need to play another game. Arasu can't stop seeing the dead tagger, feeling guilty for her death. Karub goes to the bar he worked at and retrieves the engagement ring he hid there. In the evening the big screens announce a new game and the group follows the lights to the botanical garden. They find a bunch of tools on a table with a sign that says free to use. There also are 4 phones that tell them to put on special goggles before announcing that the next game is hide and seek and its difficulty is 7 of hearts. One person will be the wolf while the other 3 will be the lambs, who must hide from the wolf. If a lamb is found by the wolf, then that person becomes the next wolf. The game lasts 15 minutes and whoever is the wolf at the end wins while the lambs will be killed by the collars. The game begins and Chota is chosen as the first wolf. He immediately panics and tries to remove the collar, so Arasu stops him because he's afraid breaking the rules will kill him. When Chota looks up at his friend, the wolf is transferred to Arasu. The same happens when he looks at Karub, so Shibuki makes sure to make eye contact with him. Once she has the wolf, she grabs a weapon and runs away to hide. Karub runs after her and when she trips, he jumps on her to fight her and try to make her look at him. Shibuki grabs a rock to hit his wound, however they accidentally make eye contact and he becomes the wolf again. Now he's the one trying to run, so Shibuki grabs him and starts repeatedly hitting his wound with the rock. After Karub manages to kick her off, Arasu shows up and takes the wolf before begging the others to work together. Shibuki refuses and starts chasing after him, but when she's about to attack, Chota tackles her to the ground. Arasu runs again and hides so he can try using the tools to remove the goggles, however he remembers the death of the tagger and stops. Karub is searching for him as he begs him to let him be the wolf, pointing out Arasu became a loser with no future since he dropped out of university. A flashback shows that Arasu's father always insulted him, but Chota and Karub were always there to cheer him up. Sometimes Karub would even make his dates shorter to be with his friends. Crying as he remembers all their time together, Arasu announces that he'll drop out of the game and starts looking for his friends to pass them the wolf, but he can't find them. Chota drags Shibuki into hiding as the main screen reminds everyone that the lambs are supposed to hide. Karub starts talking about their friendship through the goggles and stays hidden as well. Both he and Chota want Arasu to live for them. Arasu keeps on running and finally finds Karub, but it's too late. The time runs out and Chota, Shibuki, and Karub all die when the goggle collars blow up their heads. In the morning Usagi finds a rabbit in the net she left in the park and kills it to have fresh meat. On her way back she finds a crestfallen Arasu lying on the street. When she approaches him, he says he'll die too, but she doesn't care and leaves. It's revealed Usagi is hiding in a warehouse with a bunch of survival equipment. After eating her rabbit stew she goes to the bookstore to get a novel and sees Arasu lying under the rain. A flashback shows that Usagi used to be very close to her father and they went climbing together all the time. One day his father left alone to do a special no-oxygen climb and the media started to harass the family, accusing them of staging the whole thing. To escape the unwanted attention, the man left on another climbing trip and was never seen again. In the present, Arasu wakes up in Usagi's hideout. She shares her food with him, but he doesn't take it because he feels guilty about his friends' deaths and wants to join them. Usagi shares she used to feel that way too, but since she made the effort to cook for him, he should eat anyway. Arasu takes the food but still doesn't move and plans to let his visa expire. When Usagi mentions he helped her during the tag game and that she wants to return the favor, Arasu finally stands up. In the evening, the duo follows the lights that take them to a bus. Inside they find 3 players who have been here for a while and do all the games together because they think teamwork helps them win. Arasu notices that Takuma has a wounded leg. The phones announce the beginning of the game with a difficulty of 4 of clubs. It's called distance and they must endure a trial to reach the goal in 2 hours. The screens say distance, 0, so they guess they must move, but the bus is out of gas. Takuma asks the group to leave him and an argument ensues, but in the end Takuma convinces them it's for the best. Usagi, Arasu, and the other 2 men start running and the distance counter on their phones goes up. Eventually they find a replenishment station, but Usagi is suspicious of those bottles and shares her own water instead. Then they keep running until they reach a road full of cars. To their shock, a panther is waiting there and starts chasing after them. One of the guys hides under a car while Arasu blocks the panther with a door. Usagi finds a flare and throws it at the animal so she, Arasu, and the other guy can keep running. Unfortunately, the panther jumps on the last guy and begins devouring him. The group soon gets tired and doesn't know if they'll make it. At that moment, Arasu finds a bike on the back of a truck and remembers it's only the electrical circuits that have been destroyed. This bike model works on diesel, so Arasu starts pushing it back to the bus area to hopefully help Takuma. Usagi and the other guy keep running forward, only to discover the road is blocked by a wall. With only 15 minutes left, Arasu arrives at the bus. 10 minutes later, Usagi and the guy hear a noise. It turns out the wall is starting to break and water is bursting through. The duo immediately begins running, and since Usagi is well trained, she manages to escape. However, the man is tired and falls, so the water kills him. At that moment, Arasu and Takuma show up on the bus and grab Usagi to bring her inside right before the water takes her too. Time runs out and the trio is still alive because the bus had the word goal painted on it all along, which means they had to stay there to win. The counter on their phones indicated how far they were from it. After Takuma says goodbye to them, Arasu and Usagi get a bicycle and start crossing the bridge to try to find the beach. A few days later, Arasu approaches 2 players to ask if they know anything about the beach, but the men run away as soon as they hear the word. Every night he has to share the tent with Usagi, which makes him uncomfortable. Seeing that Arasu isn't used to camping, Usagi decides to teach him some survival skills like tracking down animals. That night, Arasu watches some players gather at a building. He notices a few people are wearing the same locker key bracelet, which makes him realize Aguni and his friend had it too. Usagi finds another group and notices the same bracelets. As multiple places begin exploding around the city, the bracelet guys get on cars and drive away, so Arasu and Usagi begin running after them. This takes them to a hotel called the Beach, which appears to have electricity. Before they can react, they're attacked from behind and knocked out. In the morning they wake up inside the hotel with a man called Hatter, who claims this is a utopia. He reveals a wall with a painted full deck of cards and many of them are crossed out. Hatter explains that to clear the game and return to the real world, they must win a game for each card. He theorizes only one person can escape with a full deck, but collecting duplicates should allow more people to leave as well. It's impossible for only one player to collect all the cards, so he wants Usagi and Arasu to help. Hatter also thinks they've been taken to another country because of the visas and because the whole Japanese society can't disappear overnight. The hotel uses fuel to generate electricity and rain as a water supply. Doors have been damaged so they can't be locked. Hatter's followers have even gathered a bunch of firearms. There are 3 rules to live here. Everyone must wear swimsuits, all cards belong to the beach, and traitors get killed. Hatter takes the duo's cards to add to the collection and threatens Arasu and Usagi into cooperating. During the day, all the players at the beach spend their time swimming, partying, drinking, and getting naughty. In the evening, a siren announces when a new game area opens in the city and Hatter gives an inspiring speech as if these youngsters were his army. The players are divided into a bunch of small teams to tackle as many games as possible to win lots of cards. A team has to deal with a tiger in a carousel while another team is left hanging on the human elevator. Usagi's group is using matches to find numbers on a wall and Aguni's team is killing animals in the amusement park with guns, swords, and even punches. Arasu joins a game with Tada, Quina, and En, who tells him this is also a trial to see if he's fit to be an executive member of the beach. The game is called Light Bulb and its difficulty is 4 of diamonds. The room is slowly filling with water and electrical wires are hanging from the ceiling. The players must find which of 3 switches turns on a light bulb before the water pushes them against the wires. There are 3 rules. Only one switch turns on the light bulb. They only have 1 chance to choose while the door is open, but while the door is closed they can play with the switches as much as they like. If someone is in the light bulb room where the light is on, the door won't close. They must answer together as a group to win or the wires will kill them all. One of the players touches the wires out of curiosity and dies on the spot. Arasu thinks about the rules and makes the others close the door before using the first switch. He waits a few minutes before turning the first switch off and opens the door again to try switch 2, but nothing happens. Then he asks Quina to touch the bulb and she says it's hot, which means switch 1 turned it on. They say 1 is the answer and immediately win the game. When Arasu returns to the hotel, he's happy to see Usagi survived her game as well. The party is interrupted by Hatter's militant force led by Aguni, who came to pick Usagi up because Hatter asked for her. Arasu comes to her defense, so Aguni orders his men to break his legs. At that moment Hatter shows up and orders Aguni to forgive Arasu this time since he's a newbie. Afterward Arasu is invited to an executive meeting and he's shocked to discover Chishiya is part of the higher-ups. They add the latest cards to the collection and discover they're only missing the face cards plus the 10 of hearts. Hatter's visa will expire soon and Mira thinks he should join a hearts game because many players will be willing to self-delete to protect their leader. They can't tell what a game will be in advance though, so Hatter announces he'll join whatever comes next. The next day Arasu and Usagi chat with all the players to try to get more information. However, each person has different theories and it's hard to say what's a rumor and what's the truth. In the afternoon Usagi decides to go looking for weapons in case they need them. Arasu hears some shots and notices a few guys walking away from a dumpster. When he looks inside he's horrified to find dozens of bodies. Chishiya and Quina show up and tell him those are the traitors. They explain they want to change the status quo and ask Arasu to join their plan. The soldiers aren't happy with Hatter's leadership and Chishiya thinks they'll take over the beach soon. When that happens, he intends to steal the cards and leave. Later Arasu reunites with Usagi, who couldn't find any weapons because they're protected by the soldiers. Arasu then decides to tell her about Chishiya's plan. The next day Anne opens the heads of 2 dead players to try to find the GPS chip that the game masters must have put on them to track them. She's interrupted when all the executives are called to Hatter's room. Everyone is surprised to see Hatter dead and they learn from other players that he was found like this on the streets. They assume he died in a game and discuss who should take over the leadership. Rules say it should be Hatter's right hand, but the militants threaten everyone into voting for Aguni. Soldier Naragi even punches Hatter's dead face for fun. Now Aguni can open the black envelope that contains the password to the safe with the cards. Once he memorizes it, he seals the envelope again with the leader's ring. While Aguni gives a speech to announce he's the new leader, Chishiya starts his plan. He saw Aguni looking surprised by the paper with the password and theorizes it was empty, so he thinks the actual password is the numbers on the sealing ring. While he, Usagi, and Quina keep watch, Arasu sneaks around to find the safe and try the password. However, the number is incorrect and an alarm rings, which gets the attention of the soldiers. Arasu sees Chishiya among them and realizes the plan was to frame him all along. While Usagi is captured too, Naragi begins to kick Arasu until he passes out. Afterward Arasu is tied to a chair and his face is covered in tape. He's left inside a dark room to wait until morning when his visa expires. Meanwhile Anne does an autopsy on Hatter and finds the killing bullet. Chishiya discusses his real plan with Quina, revealing he always knew the safe was fake. He had noticed Aguni glancing at a painting and thinks inside the envelope was a drawing to match. While Quina keeps watch, Chishiya checks behind the painting and finds the real safe. The password from the ring works and he grabs all the cards. The other soldiers are holding Usagi down so Naragi can take advantage. Usagi bites his tongue and gets punched for it. At that moment the lights flicker to announce the start of a new game. Chishiya throws an object at the exit and realizes the beach is the game arena so the lasers won't let him leave with the cards. Phones appear on a table for every player in the hotel and all the TVs announce the next game is the 10 of hearts. All the players except Arasu gather in the lobby where they find Momoka with a knife in her chest. The game is called Witch Hunter and they have 2 hours to find the person who killed this girl and throw them in the fire. The soldiers immediately want to burn Momoka's best friend Asahi since they're always together, but Usagi and Mira stop them because any accusations must be proven. And uses the chance to explain she was working on Hatter's body and the type of bullet she found proves he was murdered by someone here. A girl starts pointing fingers and soldier Samura immediately kills her with his sword. Aguni announces that if the killer doesn't surrender, he'll throw everyone in the fire. People panic and start running away as Naragi and the other soldiers open fire at random. Usagi grabs the last phone and teams up with Tada, Asahi, and Tada's friend to look for Arasu. Soon players are getting killed all over the building and their bodies immediately get thrown in the fire, but none of them are the killer. Eventually Samura starts a fire in the basement to force everyone to come out to the yard so Naragi can shoot them from the roof. Usagi's group splits to look for Arasu and she finds a terrified soldier hiding in a bathroom who tells her the location. Tada watches his friend get shot and jumps on the shooter, punching her until she also tells him Arasu's location. In the meantime Quina and Chishiya are hiding in the security camera room to keep an eye on things and notice someone moving in the dark. Quina goes to that room and finds Anne grabbing some superglue. She wants to use it with some powder to get the fingerprints from the knife. The women are found by Samura, so Quina tells him to go while she fights him. By moving fast, Quina can dodge Samura's attacks and run into other rooms to use furniture as protection. Samura asks Quina what she used to do and she says she worked at a clothing store, but that isn't the whole truth. Quina was born a boy and trained in her father's dojo but always lost. Her father also beat her up whenever he found her doing girly things. Eventually her father kicked her out of the house and she got her transition operation. Years later, when she visited her mother at the hospital, the old lady immediately recognized her and called her beautiful. In contrast, Samura was a failed writer who shaved his head and got all his tattoos when he entered the game as a way to start a new life. Their fight continues and Samura manages to land a cut on Quina's arm, however Quina reacts quickly and disarms him before bringing him down with a kick. This breaks some glass and Samura starts throwing the shards all over the floor to make it hard for Quina to move since she's barefoot. He retrieves his sword and attacks again, but Quina concentrates and brings him down again before killing him with a well-landed punch to the head. The smoke is slowly filling the hotel and people gather in the corridors to get out, making it easier for soldiers to kill them. Naragi keeps on shooting the people who come out while remembering his high school days. Other boys used to beat him up and mock him, so his trauma has made him a violent man. Chishiya suddenly appears behind him and says one of the executives must be the killer. He throws all the cards in the air and when Naragi gets distracted, Chishiya uses a makeshift flamethrower to burn him down. In the lobby, An takes the knife from Momoka's body. Outside, the soldiers keep burning bodies while Aguni remembers his friendship with Hatter before they were brought here. Meanwhile, Arasu falls in the chair and thinks the smoke will kill him. He starts remembering his best moments with his friends and reminds himself he must survive for them. By rubbing his face against the carpet, he manages to take the tape off his mouth and he can breathe properly again. Then he starts screaming and is heard by Usagi and the others, but the door is locked. At that moment, more soldiers show up and open fire, so Tada and Asahi bring them down by hitting them with random objects. Usagi climbs out a bedroom window and reaches the neighboring room, breaking through the glass to finally find Arasu. She takes him out of the room and they reunite with Asahi and Tada. There are only 30 minutes left, so they give Arasu the last phone before quickly sharing the rules. He points out Heart Games toy with people's feelings, so the witch should be someone influencing the game. Arasu then realizes the game masters must have watched the beach all along and waited for Hatter's death to start this game, which means only one person can be the killer. At the same time, Anne finishes her experiment with the knife and discovers who the killer is, but she's found by the soldiers and knocked out. A flashback then shows Momoka and Asahi recording themselves in the empty streets of the city. It had been 5 days since everyone disappeared and they decided to keep a record of everything. They mentioned meeting certain person before they were brought to a special place where they started to work. The flashback ended when Momoka descended into the subway station, which was so dark that Asahi lost her. In the present, Aguni and his soldiers gather the remaining survivors in the lobby to kill them all. Arasu interrupts them and asks for help catching the killer, so Aguni begins beating him up. Usagi cuts in saying this means Aguni must be the killer, and Aguni admits it's true. He asks the soldiers to shoot, but Arasu stops them because he thinks Aguni is lying. Arasu always thought it was strange that the soldiers didn't take over the beach before since they had all the weapons, so he concludes Aguni and Hatter worked together all along. Aguni was in charge of keeping violent people like Naragi in check so Hatter could be the charming leader without trouble. However, Hatter slowly became crazy with power and killed a bunch of players who were hiding cards. This inspired him to create the rule that sentences traitors to death, which Aguni hated. After Hatter's last game, Aguni approached him to ask him to put an end to the beach and Hatter got so angry he tried to shoot him, but Aguni shot first in self-defense and killed his best friend. In the present, Aguni keeps beating Arasu up until he hears him say he killed his best friends too. The players realize Aguni wanted to kill everyone regardless of the game because he wanted revenge for Hatter, who was driven crazy by his followers' adoration. Arasu concludes that Momoka is the killer and she self-deleted, but Aguni kicks him down and insists he did it. A fight ensues as Aguni tries to keep killing people, intending to bring everyone down with him. It turns out he's feeling guilty because Hatter's gun hadn't been loaded. Asahi tells Usagi and Arasu she'll create a distraction so they can burn Momoka. Suddenly Asahi announces she's the game dealer, and a laser shoots her in the head to kill her. At that moment Quina brings in, who confirms Momoka did it to herself. While Usagi concludes someone must have been controlling the girls, Arasu finally convinces Aguni to stop the killing. Unfortunately, the fire from the basement finally reaches the lobby and when the crowd tries to grab Momoka, they're stopped by a severely burnt Naragi opening fire. He throws a torch to make the flames spread faster and continues to shoot at the crowd, causing everyone to run in panic. Usagi and Arasu jump on him to stop him, but Naragi quickly throws them off. When he's about to shoot them, Aguni cuts in to act as a shield and picks up Naragi before jumping off the balcony. Both men fall into the fire and die. The crowd's shock is interrupted by the phones reminding them there are 3 minutes left. While everyone carries Momoka to the pyre outside, Arasu notices that Asahi's phone is still recording. As Momoka burns among the flames, the phones announce the game is over and the survivors won. Since everyone is distracted, Chishiya uses the chance to take the 10 of hearts. The next morning Usagi and Arasu watch the video on Momoka's phone. It turns out Momoka and Asahi were dealers, which means they set up games or joined them to act as taggers or disruptors. However, they were monitored just like normal players, and revealing their identities equaled death. In the subway station, a secret door took them to the game lair, which was a very advanced structure. Inside, people were watching the games on big screens while laughing and betting on the winners. Getting people killed gave Momoka and Asahi more days on their visas, but they couldn't take this anymore. Afterward, Usagi and Arasu follow the video to find the secret door in the station. When they find the secret room, they discover every person is already dead. At that moment, Chishiya and Quina come out of the shadows and reveal they found this place after following the drawing from the tagger's pocket, which was a map. However, they didn't kill all the people here and still don't know who the game master is. Judging by the wounds, Chishiya guesses these people were killed after they burned Momoka. Suddenly, the screens are turned on to announce a special broadcast. Mira congratulates them for finding all the number cards and begins playing clips of every game death so far. Then she announces that tomorrow new games will begin to get the face cards. Blimps appear all over the city carrying giant versions of the missing cards. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.